E36 Unfiltered, aka the Unfiltered Room with Mr. E. Gray. Introducing all the latest names and the latest news. Hottest take, he the new face, yeah the new sound, but keep it old school and raw interviews from local athletes, even digging off and entertainment too. Own style, he got his own lane, it's unfiltered out, we keep it raw, man. New content to keep the people ready. E36, no Jerome Bettis, real dialogue and real conversations. You keep it real, but we real. Mr. E. Gray in the building. E36 Unfiltered.
In the house this evening, man. This guy has been a responsible. I actually played a strong nucleus with a lot of the guests I have had on from a music standpoint the last couple of weeks, actually. So, not to take much of your time here, but I want to make sure when you come on here, everybody do me a more major favor here and hit that like button, smash that like button, hit that share button, and hashtag E36 again. That's smash that like button, hit that share button, hashtag E36. All right. Got this going here on the platform. So without further ado, go ahead and give a quick introduction to my guest that's on the show. Many times here on the platform. Actually, guys come from Georgia, from the Georgia, the Peach City, or Peach State, better yet. Has a bachelor in the piano performance at Alabama A&M and a master in music education from both TSU, that's Tennessee State University, along with Alabama A&M. Specialized in piano and special programming, and also has a whole talent. Is a pianist, but got his CEO and the founder of Maitland Conservatory, none other than Mario Maitland. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. I appreciate this invitation, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. I really appreciate you coming to the platform. We kind of spoke previously about that. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the conversation, man. It's what we brought you here for, to kind of talk about you and your life and everything that you got going on, man. So you have your music industry going on, your business, and Maitland Conservatory music company. So let's kind of go back to your beginnings, man. Like, who was the first one to introduce you and how you were introduced to the platform of the art of music?
Well, man, I always love answering that question. I'm going to answer it just a little bit differently. We'll start it off.
All right.
Differently than I have with other interviews in the past, but I go back to being 9 years old. I remember both of my parents were military and they were stationed in Germany at the time. And I just remember one particular Christmas, they bought me this little 8-key piano. It was a jaymar piano, that's what it was called. And they told me that I used to wear that thing out in the house. I was probably like 9 years old when I was messing with it. But then the part of the journey where things really kind of kick into high gear, I was back in elementary school, and there was this guy that came to my school offering after school lessons. And the strange, not the strange thing, but I was a typical boy. I wanted to play sports. I was interested in basketball. I already wanted to play football. I was like, this is what I want to do. But there was something about this guy standing in my class, and he started playing the violin. And he said he was offering after school violin lessons. And I said, oh, man, I don't know why that seems interesting to me, but I'm going to go tell my mom about it. So I went home, told my mom, said, hey, I think I want to give this instrument a try. She confesses now that I'm older, she thought it was a little weird at first, but she was like, okay.
Of course.
Right. She's like, okay, you could give it a try. So I started giving the violin a try. Now, to kind of make a long story short, I started playing the violin. And it really just got me interested in an after-school program, which is why after-school programming and school programming is so important to me. And from that, too, I developed an interest in the piano. My grandmother was very musically inclined, and I would go to stay with her during the summer, and she would kind of force me to get up and practice the piano. She would give me piano lessons. Didn't really want to do it, but then it got interesting because I was doing the violin as well. And so when I got back home, my parents said, okay, if you're going to do this, you got to do it the right way. And so they took me to a little old black city downtown Augusta, Georgia. It was a place called Andrea Clark's School of Music. And my parents enrolled me in piano lessons there. I started taking piano lessons. It went from that to I auditioned for a fine art school that was in my hometown, Augusta. And it was Davidson Fine Art School. I auditioned, I got in, Piano became a regular class every day. Orchestra became a regular class every day. And those were really the main origins of my musical journey, because I had no clue before then that this was something I wanted to do. Like I said, I wanted to go, I already knew the school I wanted to go to so that I could play sports. That's what I wanted to do. But that plan interrupted with this guy stepping into my classroom and playing the violin and saying he was teaching school lessons.
Wow. And so to kind of go back to that, the school you jumped in to be able to find it, to even open up to them door. Well, first, before we go there, what school was it that you had in your mind off the top? Hey, this is a school I want to go to. This is going to be the one. This is the school.
Well, it was more on a local level, the school I wanted to go to. To be quite honest, it was so long ago.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the name of the school, but I just knew that was the middle school and then the high school I wanted to go to. You know how everybody has like the high school favorite sports team that you want to play.
Oh, yeah. That's known for it.
Yeah, and that was my focus. Yeah. At the time, I was running track. I was playing basketball. I was playing football. Trying to do things. Of course, I was young. I was a little kid. But I focused on it. I wanted to go and play. But there was some other plans in my future. And I'm glad those plans came to pass. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're definitely absolutely right about that. That was a question I wanted to be like, hey, so what other sport were you into, or what you was athletic and gifted in? And to hear you say, hey, it was this sport, it was track and the basketball, different things like that, that kind of opened you up to it. So so it's kind of like more so not even necessarily the piano, but the violin is one that really kind of grabs you to got that first attention. Yeah. Was that kind of correct?
That's absolutely correct, man. I mean, that was the instrument that pulled me in. And, and it was the instrument that most people would think would be the least likely to pull me into music,
True.
But something captured me. I still to this day don't know exactly what it was, but I do know something happened in that moment where I watched that guy play the violin in my classroom.
Yeah. Wow. And so you found that passion in that career. When did it actually hit you that, what, this is not only I like it, but this is, I'm gonna put basketball and track, whatever, I'm gonna move that towards the other direction. I want to steer this way and go here. When did that actually kind of hit you and kind of feel like, hey, this is my new baby right here?
Yeah, I would have to say that's an excellent question. There were two moments that happened. The first moment was in 5th grade, and I remember this moment really clearly. At that time, my elementary school had started like this broadcast, similar to what we're doing right now. But this was way back in the 90s, and they had started to show the school announcements. And they needed music for the commercial, like when it would start, how it came on.
Yes.
And so, of course, we had no recording capabilities at that time. So what they would do is behind the backdrop would be me on a little Casio keyboard. Behind the backdrop, I would play a beat on the Casio and then start playing something with it. And so I became the guy that was doing the music behind the show. And so I'll never forget it. There was a kindergarten class at an elementary school. And I guess I had gotten, quote unquote, famous in elementary school for doing that. And so they brought me to the kindergarten class to like play a little bit for them. And I wish to God I could find, or the thing they gave me, they made this book of me playing the piano in all these different settings and doing this music with music notes coming out of me. And then the teacher had me sign a little slip of paper for all of the students and told me that one day that I'd be famous. So they wanted to have my signature there. And it's funny because I haven't told the story to anybody else, but you asking me that question, that was one of the moments where I knew this is what I like to do. Like, I love this feeling. I think the other moment where it got a little more serious was more in high school. I had a few piano teachers, but there was one that stood out to me the most. His name was Paul Hennessy, and he still actually teaches at Davidson Fine Arts in Augusta, Georgia. And he would pull me to the side and tell me, I think you could do more. I think you could go even further with this. And he would give me these extra pieces that were really difficult to work on. And so it gave me this kind of energy boost. And confidence in my ability. And I said, you know what? I think I want to try and take this all the way. I want to do music for a living. And so hopefully I'm not getting ahead of the conversation.
No, that's fine.
But what kind of helped solidify that, there was a guy that some of you know if you've been to Alabama A&M. His name was Dr. Horace Carney. He was the chair of the music department at Alabama A&M. And he used to come to my high school all the time in Augusta, Georgia, and recruit music students from my school. At that particular time, though, I had my heart set on going to the Juilliard School of Music, the North Carolina School of the Arts, and the Peabody Conservatory. I wanted to be a concert pianist. So at this time, I was all classical. That's all I wanted to do.
Okay.
And one day on my way to the bus, Dr. Carney caught me. A teacher said, you need to hear this guy play. I played for him, and he offered me a full scholarship to come to Alabama A&M on the piano. I didn't want to come, but money said something else. The other schools,
always money talks,
money
baby.
talks,
Money
you know what I
talks.
mean? I got into the other schools, but they just weren't offering enough. But I'm thankful for things happening the way they did, because so much has happened in my life just right here in Huntsville, Alabama. So I'm glad for the experience and glad because.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you get me a mouthful on that one, and then once I loved it, no, just what we needed. And you know, it's crazy. You actually kind of answered a couple of questions that I even had. As about like, I'm like, yo, this guy, I'm trying to understand, like, how did he leave, or what prompted him to leave, what I would consider the hotbed of the South when it comes to the music industry. And not only that, you know, with ATL, and it was springing up, especially in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, when it was really blowing up and springing up opportunities, and then the Galore was just booming. But then, in addition to that, you also got numerous HBCUs that was in the state of Georgia. I'm like, okay, what was it that pulled him to come to Alabama? And now I kind of know that question about, or that answer that I had, or that question that I had about that. Now, you talk about how you got there and everything, and what pulled you there. Was it for you? Did you know? Because you said you went to going playing pianist, the violin, what it pulled you out. Now, this is some other key notes about this man that to me that kind of really stuck out, and I was like, whoa, okay, so he got a whole other level of talent. This man was not only, for you guys to know, he was not only he just played the piano. As a pianist and a violinist, Maitland participated and won several awards in the competition, including the Sarah Hall's piano competition, first place, the James Hefner HBCU piano competition, second place in full graduate assistantship. So you also flew over to Rome, Italy, to debut as a concert pianist. So over into Rome.
Yeah.
Take us to how that process worked, and how impactful was that to be able to take your talents to a whole nother country and be welcomed, first of all, to be invited and to get over there and excel in that prospect, in that area. What did that do for your confidence in that area?
Oh man, it boosted my confidence so much. You know, just a little inside, just even on the reason why those things were so impactful in my life. I had a really hard time with self-esteem when I was, a little younger. You know, you hit that high school, early college stage, and there's just things that you
trying to find yourself.
You're trying to figure yourself out. And so my path was doing piano competitions, because that was a place where I felt that I could challenge myself, and I could also put myself up against other people who love doing what I did as well. And so that whole concept of iron sharpens iron. So I started doing piano competitions. I think the first one I did was called the Birmingham Music Club, which was down in Birmingham, and it was sponsored by the music club. I did that one. I won second place. And then I said, you know what, let me take it a step further. I did another local one, which was sponsored by UAH, called the Sarah Hall Piano Competition. I won that one. Was excited about that. And then I started to just reach out further. I did the Mississippi Symphony Concerto competition, placed in that. But that big one, that Rome Festival International, was when I said, I'm going to step out and do this and just try it. I knew that I was going to be going against people from all over the world. And to be one of the chosen, to be flown to Rome, Italy, to be able to tour Rome, Italy, not only as a concert pianist, but as well playing with the Rome Festival Orchestra. I played in the second violin section while I was out there. Just experiencing all that, it did do something for me. It showed me that if I was willing to work hard enough for something, even for something that is not deemed something my demographic would do, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I could go after that. I could do that. So that was kind of, I'm going to stop it right there, because I want to allow you to kind of ask me the question. Don't go too far. But.
Gotcha. So to go into that a little bit further, you mentioned that transition, and this is also a side note. I've actually met you maybe 20 years ago. You don't probably remember it.
No.
So, So you used to play the piano, not it was a while back at New Church.
Pastor Gray.
Yeah, that was my uncle. And we
God.
actually, we had the chocolate. You know, that New Beer is like almost in Tennessee or somewhere, whatever. So it was a long trip. And I remember Marquis, they used to bring it, and you was so quiet. I'm like, who's the dude? Like, oh, his name Mario, man. He's good. He can play, man. But you was so quiet. But you get them keys. It was like, oh, this don't sound like anybody I can heard. Like, classical and everything. Like, this dude is dope. Like, I remember thinking as young because I was a drummer. I used to
Yeah,
play drums.
that's
I would play
right.
drums for them. Huh?
That's right. It's coming back now. It's coming back, man.
Yeah, I used to play drums for us, so I would come there and have sometimes play drums and everything when they didn't have a drummer from my father's church. And so
Yeah.
that was my first meeting of you, and I knew from that point, I'm like, yo, he's different. Where he from? He ain't from around here. And then when they say, like, yo, he's from Georgia, we met him in A&M and everything. So, yada, yada, yada. And it's so crazy to see years later, I could see your name pop up and that face pop up, and to see you on the platform that you are at now, it's like, wow, this is a Mario doing his thing. He stuck with it. Now, to bring it all to forefront, and you talked about your confidence and everything, and dealing with that, and how music helped branch that out.
Yeah.
Is that growing up? What was some of the music that you gravitated towards? Because it's more you sang pianists and violins. Who was some more of the musical talents that you gravitate toward, and was it more background people that's like music producers or musicians, or was it actually more singers that you kind of also gravitated to early on?
Well, that's an excellent question, because, when I think back to that and reflect back to those types of moments, it kind of helps me realize how the stage was set, even from, way back then. I just didn't understand where things would cross, where they would,
Yes.
how they would work together. But back then I gravitated to so many different types of music. Of course, as a musician, you're in the church scene. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
back
Yeah.
then, I did play with a church, but just to keep it quite honest, I didn't have much confidence in that, because I was all classical. And
Mhm.
if you're in a black church, man, you got to be able to black church. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to be able to throw it, get an organ, make it squeal, make it sing,
Right,
make it,
right.
yeah.
So, though I got a side of myself from that time of my life, luckily I was around other musicians who were good at what they did, and I was able to kind of glean from them. So that was one thing that I kind of took from and gleaned from. At that time, it was John P. Key. That was Fred.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was,
Fred Hammond.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was what
Yeah.
I gravitated to on that spectrum. And then you go over to this other side, and I was an avid Biggie and Tupac fan. So
Okay.
I love
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm more popular. Yeah.
yeah, it was just something about the way the sampling was done, the music, the lyrics, that I just thought was dope. I really enjoyed it. But then what's weird is then you go over to this whole other side, and I loved Vivaldi's Four Seasons. One, because I played with an orchestra, so we played some of these pieces, the Brandenburg Concerto and all these things like that. And so my classical side was being cultivated as well. And then you take it a step further. I'll never forget, I was sitting in the movie theater, probably sometime in high school, because I worked at the movie theater at that time. And I was watching this movie called The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise in it, long time ago. And listening to, I started watching the movie, and there was a particular scene, and I'm like, man, this music in the background of this movie sounds so good. Like, I wonder if other people are hearing what I'm hearing. And I remember sitting in the theater at that moment and saying, it's funny I'm about to say this, when I get old, I want to do music for movies and TV. I like this. Like, this is something I want to do. I'll probably do it when I'm like in my 30s. I thought that was a time. But that was the moment where I decided I wanted to do music for movies too. It was in that moment. And so again, by you asking me that question, caused me to reflect. There was like all these little ingredients along the way. All of the different things that I do now came from those moments. I was being introduced to it at those moments. So I can't say there was one genre that I loved or one type of music that I loved. I really did like all, and I liked how they all could work together. So soon I was going to find out that this was going to be what made up my style of playing and just my style of musician and even education. That was me.
Wonderful. You know what? And to go into that, it's crazy how certain things of our personality kind of reflects what we gravitate toward and how to cultivate it to make it a strength for us. Because it seemed like you said you was kind of, even when I met you, you was kind of shy. Like we didn't talk much and everything.
Yeah.
But you got them keys. I'm like, yo, this dude is like on a whole nother different type of hearing of stuff, So I wanted to ask you, like, what you kind of gravitate towards, this and that. And I think even because of that, your personality, you had a tendency like, hey, let me see how this background stuff works. Did you ever see yourself or ever want to see yourself in the front, with the mic in the hand, the ushers, and whatever it may be out there in front?
Not at all, man. I mean, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Some people who are close to me know this about me. I am naturally an introvert. You met me when in like 100% of that. where I was shy,
Yeah.
quiet, stayed in the background. Of course, as you get a little older, you become more confident, you grow
Yes.
up,
Yes.
all that stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, I have that element too, that element of confidence. But naturally, I like being behind the scenes. I like to
Mm,
put things together and then watch them go. You know what I mean? And support from.
yes.
I've never been a in front of the scenes guy. You know, it took me a while to even put a picture out. You know, of me associated with the conservatory. You know, I usually conservatory out front, but you know, comes with time. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's move forward here. You discussed now. You got into the songs that you was hearing, different music and different genres that kind of woke you up to make you even more well rounded.
yeah.
So I hear about all your because you even went to get your masters at A&M and then TSU, music education and then piano performance. So you got all these different degrees that falls into the line of your music and everything. So how did you transition into the the arena of being a producer? You know, how did that kind of evolve into it? That process, because we went to the school. How did that fall into it?
Man, you're taking me down memory lane, man. So
Let's go with it.
at Alabama A&M and Made by Music, she still watches, so I know she remembers this time very well. I started a band called Remedy, and
Okay.
we were an R&B band, so we were doing all just the great hits at that time. Valentine's Day in the Caf on campus. We perform at Bibb Graves Hall, putting on concerts. But it was during that time that computer-based production was starting to become a little more prevalent. And so my first experience with it was at that time we had hard disk digital recorders. They were like studios in a box. And on stage, we would want like more stuff playing with us. So I would create extra tracks to go along with us playing. So we would play, along with these tracks that were going on with us. But we decided to cut a CD, and we cut the CD out in Decatur at a studio called Sound. I forgot the end of it, but Dave.
Okay.
He had a studio out in Decatur, and we cut our CD there. And after we cut our CD, there was one day he was in the studio mixing it, and this artist named Sean Simmons was also in town. So Sean Simmons heard him mixing our record, and he was like, "Who is that band? I need a band to travel with me." So that's how I got connected to him. So when I got connected to him, I was his music director for a period of time, and then an opportunity came up. He was working on his album, and there was a song that he needed done in 6/8 time. And a lot of the other producers he was talking to didn't know how to do that. But me, with my music theory background, I knew how to do that, how to create a song. So I never forget, I took my, I had never produced anything before, but I looked up some of the stuff they used. At the time, it was like Sonar. It was this little software program. We use LimeWire to download stuff and tear up your computer.
Yeah, LimeWire. So that's when it was legal. That's when we can get it.
Yeah, that's how we get it, right? So
I
took some of my refund check, and I went to a pawn shop over on Sparkman, and I bought my first computer, a little E-machine computer with the big back on it. And I set out to produce this song, to do this song digitally. And the song turned out well, but he wanted to reproduce it even better. So then I got introduced to Kelvin Wooten, who many people know who Kelvin Wooten is. Like he's and I worked in his studio recreating this song. So that was my first experience with producing in an actual studio. And I was hooked from that point.
Wow. So your background did kind of teach you how to kind of deal with the music as far as producing the things, recreating the sounds, all into that field without even. So now, was that what you learned also that came from when you guys were producing the CD while you was at A&M, that kind of when you kind of picked up on a lot of that stuff? So kind of like outside the classroom, but in the classroom still?
Absolutely. Yeah. There was a lot I learned outside of the classroom, while I was at A&M. I mean, I really learned how music can move people on a different level. I was able to do it on a classical level, but then I started seeing how music just really affected people's emotions, and how when you arrange it the right way, you could get all of these reactions from the listener. And so that's how I really honed my skills as a music director, because that's what musical direction is all about: arranging the music, putting it together, choosing the right sounds. I mean, my studying was watching Justin Timberlake concerts. Well, it wasn't Justin Timberlake at that time. What was the name of the group he was in? Forgot the name.
NSYNC.
NSYNC concerts, and watching how his music director would put their shows together. Even Destiny's Child, because I loved their MD and the way he would put the band together, and Usher and all these different artists. And that's how I would learn to arrange the music the way I did.
Unless you want.
E36 Unfiltered, aka the Unfiltered Room with Mr. E. Introducing all the latest names in the yeah, the new sound, but keep it old school and raw interviews from